Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another mini series with Process Pat. Today, I wanted to take just a few minutes of your time to talk through a strategy that I have used, tried and true, that has helped our teams reach first a state of consistency, then a state of predictability, but also just a state of continuous improvement. And I call it the red flag remediation strategy. Let's jump right in. What is the red flag remediation strategy? Well, it's a way that we can leverage the metrics that you collect across your teams to identify potential red flags. These red flags can help to identify potential root causes. They may be leading to negative trends or poor performance across your teams. So once you've identified the metric, then you've identified the red flags that may be contributing to poor performance or negative outcomes for your teams. Then you can work with your team through the retrospective process to focus on ways that you can remediate that specific issue. So the third step is remediation, which is to identify remediation strategies for every red flag that you have documented, review it with your team, and come up with a way that you can solve for the root cause of that particular problem. So jumping right in, let's go ahead and use a real example. So our teams measure throughput against plan. This is a consistency metric, and it helps teams to understand based off of their historical velocity, their capacity, what their total throughput should be for a given sprint. And then after the sprint, you measure what that throughput was against the plan, and that gives you your throughput against plan. So leveraging this particular metric, you may have noticed that there are a few red flags that have been occurring. Maybe your teams are highly volatile from sprint to sprint, or maybe the teams are consistently below the estimated capacity for whatever reason. Maybe teams are well above the estimated capacity for a number of different reasons. Well, we've gone through, we've identified the metric, we've analyzed that as a Scrum Master. We have worked with the team to identify some of the red flags through the analysis of those metrics. Then you can take it a step further and you can start to identify ways that you can potentially remediate that particular issue. One may be that you break stories into smaller increments. Another may be that you swarm sprint items before pulling them back into the backlog. So focus on the work you've committed to in that sprint rather than pulling from backlog items before that work is done. Maybe your teams could pair program to enable learning opportunities and skill set development that will put you into a better position to complete work within the sprint itself. Ensuring that definition of ready is met and that the teams understand the work prior to sprint planning and committing to that work in those sprint goals in a particular sprint. And the last may be that the team may just need more refinement sessions. Maybe it's a new team. They don't quite understand the work, and you need further refinement sessions to help them feel comfortable with the work that they are about to deliver. In working with your team, you may find out that because the metric throughput against plan was highly volatile from sprint to sprint, that in this next sprint, your team is going to work on breaking stories down into smaller increments so that they can be delivered faster. This is a focus back onto another metric that you can then track, which is cycle time, understanding how much time is being spent throughout your workflow in specific states. And you can even take this another step further if you wanted to identify the bottlenecks within the process as your work flows through it. So you can virtually use this strategy for any of the metrics that you track across your teams, even across your program or even your portfolio. It helps you to start with the potential issue, or at least whatever metric you're tracking that may be trending in a negative direction. It allows you to identify the red flags that may be causing it to do so. And then you can work with the teams to come up with remediation strategies. The last point that I will make that is very important is that metrics should be used only for continuous improvement purposes. If it's being used for performance indicators or for performance management, and you have a fear-based culture, tracking metrics will lead to negative outcomes. So my advice is to, if you don't already, develop a trust-based culture. Focus on the metrics with intent just to solve problems for the team, and you will see that your teams are able to achieve things that you never thought possible. As a good Scrum Master, your number one job is to keep your team, to enable your team and keep them working on the goals at hand. And this is a great way to keep them as efficient and lean as possible. Thank you for your time. Click the link. Please subscribe. I very much appreciate it. Bye.